All right. Hey, we are live. Welcome back, everybody. It's going to be a bit of a shorter stream today. Uh, Definitely much shorter than last week. Last week I had a lot of things I wanted to get into. This week, not so much. There's some updates from last week that I do want to touch on. Um, and in the background, we're still going to do some more trapdoor modeling. Unfortunately, um, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't able to get that far from last week. So last week, y'all remember I kind of did this like front portion of the trapdoor. Um, since then, I kind of did this sort of like, maybe I can turn this off. Hold on so you can see a little bit better. Um, it's not done yet, but I've kind of done this little kind of groove where the iron sight you can kind of see through it is. Um, and then I've also done the internal kind of like chamber area. Um, so what we now need to do is this kind of end portion of the trapdoor. This is kind of where the actual like door kind of locks in. And kind of like where like the handle is, you kind of like flip it up. So I'm gonna try to finish that as much as I can today. But yeah, this week was just kind of a mess. A lot of, outside of game development, just a lot of work I had to do. So wasn't really able to get too much work done. But that's what these streams are for, right? So doing some work here. What the hell is going on right here? Get rid of that. Right. So yeah, we're just gonna do a little bit of work here, and I'm also gonna tell some channel updates that are coming. The first one of which, so I just found out about this like just like a couple hours ago. So there's a plugin for OBS, which is the software recorder I'm using, called Stream Elements. Give me a second. I'm right now looking at my reference images. You can't see them. I've actually hid that. But okay. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I've heard about some this one program called Stream Elements, and one of the things that you can do with it is you can live stream to multiple platforms at the same time. So I think one of the things I want to try to do next week, I couldn't do it this week just because I didn't have enough time, but probably next week I'm probably going to set up a Twitch channel, and I'm probably going to talk about this with my social media manager, but we might even do live streaming on TikTok as well. That way the people that don't like using YouTube, they want to use something else, we can give them kind of another place to actually look at these. I think it's going to also kind of help with engagement. Because last week I got a lot of like suggestions and stuff to improve like the streams, but I didn't really get anything like live. Like you could see like the chat was kind of empty. So most of these suggestions were kind of like after the live stream was done. So I think to kind of boost live stream engagement, I'm probably going to be doing that for next week. But this week, we'll just keep it kind of simple. So let's see. That's actually supposed to be straight, I think. Hold on. DB. Yeah, that's straight. Okay. So yeah, that's gonna be something I'm gonna be trying to set up for next week's live streams. And honestly, I was originally kind of trying to go for like a 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time live stream like time to start. But honestly, I kind of like what I've been doing last week and what I'm now doing this week as well, just starting kind of at 6:45. So I'm probably going to be doing that moving forward. I think it's better. Why the hell can I only see the top chat? Show me everything. There we go. So yeah, there's some fun developments happening there. Speaking of like social media stuff, so I talked with my social media manager last week. Again, it was kind of his first week on the job, unpaid job, and so there was a lot of posts being made last week. I've kind of talked with him a little bit, so our goal moving forward is to now prioritize more kind of quality posts rather than a lot of quantity. So we're working right now on trying to get some more get some more dev footage, so we have a little bit more to work with, and yeah, then we're gonna have some more interesting, fun things to post. So it was a little bit busy last week and kind of quiet this week on those platforms. That's really why. And yeah. So anyway, this I want to talk a little bit about this model. So right now, honestly, this part of the weapon, this sort of like trapdoor mechanism thing, this is the most intricate and detailed part of the trapdoor. It's the part with the most moving objects, and so I kind of want to make sure, because this is going to be the part the player sees the most, I kind of want to make sure that I'm getting a lot of these details correct, and so that's why this part of the firearm modeling has just taken so long. But here's the thing: once I'm done with this model, here we go. So once I'm done with this model, I will be done with all of the American firearms for Alpha 2. Obviously, there's plenty more American firearms to make later on, but for Alpha 2, that'll be it. And so yeah, that's weird. So I'm kind of having a little bit of a dilemma right now at this point in time, because I really want to make another game dev video. I haven't made one since what was it, like last April, I think. That was the last one. So I want to make some more of those like game dev videos. It's just been kind of hard to kind of get everything like done in time. And again, I'm kind of having the dilemma of I still have to make those Spanish firearms. So right now I might, it's either I once I'm done with this, I just start working on the Spanish firearms, and then however long that takes, you know, finish that, right, and then get another game dev video out, kind of documenting all the work I've done with these firearm models. Or I finish this model, I start working on the video, and in the background, you know, I might have the Spanish firearm stuff be its own separate video, because keep in mind, like, you still cannot play as the Spanish yet. That will be a feature in Alpha 2, but at the present, you still cannot play as them yet. So that might just be deserving of its own video in and of itself. So I might finish the firearm models then, and then just kind of right now focus on just making the American firearms, just in the interest of saving time. So there's a good chance that the next like proper like game dev video I make will probably come out in the next month or so, or it's possible that it might be even longer, but I do want to try to get out a couple more before the end of the year. Again, I originally wanted to get one video per month. Obviously I massively lapsed in that aspect over the summer. Just it was very, very hectic, so I couldn't really do much. But yeah, definitely moving forward, I want to do a little bit better of a job at that. Let's see if that's going to be a little bit smoother. Like that, maybe? Okay, I think that's better. So, yeah. But obviously, yeah, again, I do still want to work on those other models. Again, they're old. I haven't done any changes to them. So they need to be upgraded. The Spanish Mauser and the C96 handgun. So that's kind of all a work in progress at this point. Now that I'm kind of looking at it, now that I'm kind of looking at it, I think I slightly messed this up. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. I realized, okay, so I was kind of making this like curve going around here, but this is the handles view. Actually, the inside of the gun probably comes up to about right here. So, unfortunately, that means I gotta redo this. Whoopsie poopsie. Right. So anyway, what else? So yeah, there's gonna be some more work on those, but again, I might for the Spanish farms just kind of delay that for later. Next week we're not going to be doing Trapdoor modeling. Instead, next week, if I can get to it, if everything goes according to plan, I want to start working on the infantry models, because what I'm planning on doing is doing kind of a model refresh of the infantry models. So right now, the ones that currently they're using they were built off of a program called Make Human. I've showed it in some of my earlier videos. It was kind of like an open source, free human creation program, and it was great. But the problem is that that program is no longer being supported, and the other issue is it's not very detailed. Like it's good for making like really like basic human models that look fine from like a distance. But the problem is that what I'm now kind of finding out is that like a lot of these like details, like for instance like skin, kind of like pores and stuff like that, the things that actually like make a 3D like humanoid model that actually kind of gives it more like depth and kind of detail, you just cannot do that in that program. It's just not built for that. So I need to find another approach. And what I have found out, there's another thing also, is the clothing. The clothing in the models that I've made, they're kind of static. There's not really any like folds or creases or anything like that. They just look kind of flat, and that's what kind of makes them look really unnatural. So one of the things I want to do is use one of these, like, they're meant for fashion design, but I've seen game developers use it as well just to make 3D model like clothing. The first program I'm going to be using is this program called Daz 3D. It's an industry standard program to kind of make humanoid models, and a lot of them are really, really realistic looking. And I'm kind of hoping that by using this program, I can kind of achieve some better looking. Yeah, we're just going to scrap this. How about that? I'm hoping that by using that, we might be able to get some better looking humanoid models. But then on top of that, something else is there's a program called Marvelous Designer, and it's allows you to make these like, clothing models for your humanoid assets. And I want to use that to actually recreate the uniforms for all the soldiers. And that way I can actually simulate things like folds. And I can also add like little details like buttons or pins and stuff like that to kind of like button up shirts. And I can add belts and stuff like that. I can add a lot more like realistic details. But again, those like folds and stuff like that, that's going to really take it to the next level. It's going to make all these models just look a million times better. And the goal is then also to then make those other facial variants, because right now I just only have the one. So it just looks like just like an army of clones. And that's obviously something I want to fix as well. So yeah, there's a lot of work to be done there. And so for next week's live stream, the plan is to kind of experiment. It's going to be kind of a more just kind of like a free form live stream where I'm just kind of experimenting with these programs, kind of learning how to use it. I'm probably not going to be doing any like real like professional work with it, but it's just kind of at least first in that live stream, but it's just going to be kind of like a way for me to kind of experiment and explore and kind of just see how everything kind of works. And that way in the future, I can actually then kind of, do something a little bit more advanced with it. In general though, I already know how to use a good chunk of these programs, but I just want to, I don't even have it downloaded, right? Just me kind of watching tutorials and stuff like that. So next week is going to be the week we're actually going to try using these for like the first time. I thought I made that smooth already. I guess I didn't. So yeah. So next week we're not going to be doing any trapdoor modeling. My hope, and again, I'm not going to say exacts because unfortunately with game development, I know that I will predict like, oh, I'm going to do something by X or Y, and I end up always almost completely overshooting it. So I'm not going to do that. I want to try to get this model done. At least the modeling aspect done next week. But if I can't, then, well, I can't, right? Then it's just gonna, I do want to make sure that this model looks good. So at the end of the day, like, as much as it's a pain to see, like, how slow progress can be, I do care a lot about quality. Why the hell is it doing that? Yeah, I do care a lot about quality. I want to make sure that, the models look good. They look clean. They're all detailed and everything. Because that matters a lot more to me than the time it takes to actually develop stuff. These models are going to be under, pretty heavy scrutiny. So it's important to me that they actually look good. And not only that, but it's just going to make it also easier to use later when I have to start actually animating these things. Make sure it's as detailed as I can. So, but honestly, like I really think this model, like it's taken forever, but it is coming along. Like you could see like how here I have like these little like kind of like 3D screws kind of popping out that kind of hold the whole thing together. So, it's coming along. It's coming along, just it's going really slow, but again, that's what it takes, then, you know, so be it. But yeah. And honestly, that's pretty much it. All I have wrote down here for what I wanted to talk about. So honestly, I might go a little silent here for the remaining period of time. Again, this is not going to be a long live stream. I guess something else I do want to mention is some of this footage is probably going to be reused for our social media. So even if you don't see these live streams, you might see this pop up on our TikTok or whatever. So there's that, I guess. Let's see. Oh, jeez. Okay, yeah, we need to go lower. Way lower. So hang on. Okay, yeah. Okay, there's this like metal plate here on this side. There is actually a groove kind of into it, so we'll just extend that down to about right there. That should be good enough. Okay. Let me see, can I get some better close-ups of this thing? I have like a whole list of all my reference images right here. Yeah, that's a really terrible picture. Like, what I have to go off of is this reference image. That's kind of like taken from the perspective of like this angle, exactly like this. So I cannot tell if this base plate, this like metal plate, is actually like where it's actually coming up from, and how much of like this portion of the trapdoor is actually being shown. Or sorry, this portion of like metal is being shown. So that's I have to take, again, when you're doing 3D modeling, you have to take a lot of liberties in how things look. So I try to get it as accurate as I possibly can. But yeah, unfortunately, with 3D modeling, you really do need to kind of understand like every single like nook and cranny. so you're just scrutinizing things for like every like millimeter. And the stuff you just cannot see, you just have to just kind of guess. I think for the most part that looks correct. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, if only that handle wasn't in the way, because that handle, like, it's significantly bigger than this groove. Like, way bigger. Like, honestly, might even, hold on. Just squeeze that a little bit and a little bit down. And this I'm just eyeballing. But like that. I mean, obviously this existing door thing I'm going to be changing as well, but because that's from the old model, the old version. But that, oh, perfect. Yeah, that's better. That looks way better. Okay. Because then the rest of that is going to be this weird portion. Yeah. Okay. It is, yeah, again, not to scale, but that's fine. It's artistic liberties. Let's see. And so this thing comes up pretty much at the same height, I think. Hold on. I mean, off of what I can see, yeah, I'm pretty sure it just comes off at the same height. So that's basically around... Oh, perfect, yeah. And so there. I will say, again, this stream hasn't really been as... I can see the stats right here. Not as viewed, but the last stream that we had, we somehow had like at one point like 6 concurrent views. That's actually, it's probably my most watched stream. I think like almost like ever. So that's I know 6 is not a lot. I got it, but yeah, for this channel it is. So I appreciate anybody who sticks around and watches these. Okay. Clearly I messed up. Why the hell does it go there? What? Why did I do that? Okay. Oogie. And that goes there. Okay. Yeah. The thing what I'm trying to do now is we have again this sort of like half tube. Oh. Yeah, yeah, weapon modeling in Blender is a real pain in the neck. Again, there's just a lot of details you have to do. It's much easier if you're doing like low poly stuff. That's you could just draw a couple of squares and then you're done, and it's like, oh hey, sweet, I got a pistol. But when you're doing hard surface modeling, yeah, it takes forever. So, but I was gonna say right now I am trying to align these sort of like edges right here with these ones. So, but we have kind of an uneven number, so it's a real, yeah, because I can't do that. That just looks hideous. Let's see. So if I try, whoa, there we go. And yeah, the normals. So that's actually what these blue lines here are for. I have trouble with the normals as well. because you have to, again, try to keep all those faces facing the right way. And I've seen people complain when they see my videos. They're like, why do you have all these like blue lines here? It's so hard to see everything, but yeah. It's not, I don't think it's that Blender isn't made for precision modeling. I think it's just, I don't know. It's kind of like an all-in-one program, and so there's specialized programs specifically for make like CAD kind of programs that are like made for making these more like minute little details, and then Blender is here trying to be kind of just like it's an all-in-one kind of program, and that just kind of doesn't work for a lot of things, including gun modeling. That's why like you'll have like engineers that like just hate using Blender for like architecture and stuff like that. It's just it's not made for that. In the case of weapon modeling is it's definitely a pain. But with the normals, with the normals, I used to try to just like, oh, I'm just gonna make the models as I kind of see fit. But really quickly I had an issue where I had like like a 10K model that just had like a ton of different polygons going everywhere, and half the stuff was inverted, and it was just a struggle just trying to like figure out like which ones are inverted, which ones are not, because Blender doesn't really make it so obvious, which is why like now I just always keep these normal maps or these normal like directions just facing whichever correct direction they're supposed to be while I'm actually working on in the edit mode, whatever, where I keep all the normals facing in the correct way, because honestly I will just lose track of like which stuff I've messed up on. So I it's like, oh, I've seen like YouTubers out there that like, oh, I'm gonna fix it later. It's like, I'm not gonna fix it later. If I've made a model and I import it into Unity and it's all messed up and weird, it's like I can't be bothered to go back and try to fix that. It's like, nope, that's just how it is now. I'm not gonna fix that. Yeah, a lot of eyeballing for sure. For sure. Again, like with this, you can even see actually in the background here. I'm not using this reference as much anymore. I'm using the ones I have on my browser that you can't see, but like I don't know how big this gap is supposed to be, because this handle is much bigger. So again, there's a lot of eyeballing. But I kind of think, again, there's also that sort of like artistic interpretation. If you model something that is kind of inaccurate, it's kind of like, well, hey, that's maybe that's what the artist kind of wanted. They wanted it to look a certain way. Even games like Battlefield 1, which is kind of what this game is very, very much inspired by. Like they took a lot of liberties with that as well. So yeah. Yeah, I don't download Sketchfab models, but actually what I'm using sometimes for even right now for this model is, yeah, I'll have Sketchfab. I actually have a Sketchfab model open. The problem with Sketchfab is that a lot of the models, and the reason why I'm modeling everything myself, is a lot of these models are low poly or they're mid poly, and so there's a lot of inaccuracies there as well. Like again, I can maybe I've already shown it on the last stream, but I can maybe see if I can pull it up again. Hold on. I think we got it. Okay. I'm not sure if you can see the screen. So like I have Sketchfab open right here. So I'm kind of using this. Of course, I got a bunch of other reference images as well. But you can see like this model kind of sucks. Like, like it's super low poly. There's a lot of like curves. Sorry, not curves, but a lot of like flat edges right here. Yeah, it's really hard to find a lot of good reference images as well. But like, yeah, like this whole like how it's like super like long, this like long vertical face, and then this really like short curve. That's not at all what the firearm looks like. I mean, you can even see it from, let me see, like this image, like it's much more rounded. And of course, you also have things like how that's all low poly. This scope, or not scope, this sight is completely messed up as well. So like, Sketchfab has they have some good references, but I would never like actually like use any of these models myself. They just, some of them are just really, just not great. Hell, even look at this. Like you can even see there's like an opening right here. So like, yeah, for, you know, if you're playing the game like this, you might not see it, but like in my game, you have that museum mode, so you can like maybe see it. And even like if the player cannot maybe see it, the lighting is still going to be affected by this. So you're going to still have like shadows that are kind of like, they're not going to look right. And that easily can be spotted by players. Yeah, for scaling. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Definitely with some of these older like rifles, especially like if you're using like, if you're trying to model like muskets and stuff like that from like the Civil War, Revolutionary War, it's always funny seeing like the scale of these things. Give me a second. I gotta fix my OBS. Hold on. DB. Hold on a second. There we go. And hang on. There we go. Should be working now. Okay. Yeah, with like the older like firearms, like it's always funny because they're like super long and it looks like oh man, the scale's really off on this, but it's not actually. Usually it's like, wow, okay, that's just guns back then were just super long. it's always the weirdest thing to see, but definitely like even in my game, I have two models. So I have, one is what I'm calling the third person models, and that's actually the model that has both the firearm and also the infantry kind of combined into one. And then I have like that's called like the FPS arms, which is just the firearm and like the arms that are kind of like animated, and that's specifically for the player to see. It's not actually shown like in the world, I guess. That's kind of like what you see like on like the corner of the screen, you know, that's how you aim and all that kind of stuff. And even though they're both rendered in the environment, and you can tell that like the FPS arms are way bigger than the actual like the infantry models. How do you make sure all the vertices, oopsies, my phone is being weird, are in line? Like I'm guessing like you mean like if they're like level. To make sure that that's the case, what I'll do, like for instance like this, I want this to be flat. So there is actually a shortcut in Blender. If you press S, S is of course for scaling, right? But then you can scale on an axis. So I want to make these levels. So Z, and you can maybe see there's like a blue line kind of going up and down. And then if I press 0, that basically flattens things out. Like you were moving on the back there on the, yeah, okay. If you're saying like I want to move this dot, this vertice on like this edge right here, if you double press G, you can move it on just like that edge. So yeah, just double tap G, because G once is just grab, and then G twice is moving it on an edge. So yeah, these are the shortcuts that they don't really show you much of on the internet, but you just kind of have to explore it and find it. And yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, you know, I'm not, even though I studied this in college, I'm not, you know, the best 3D modeler out there. I don't have the best artistic abilities, but I'll say that, like, when I was using, because in college we had to use this program called Maya, which is another like 3D modeling program. And honestly, like, I know some artists, they love using Maya. I hated it. It was just a real pain in the neck to use. Actually, I just messed that up. Hold on a second. But yeah, and so I actually remember one time I even cheated on one of my assignments. I was supposed to make something in Maya, and I hated using that program so much. I was like, screw this. And I basically pulled the like assignment into Blender, and I was modeling it that way. And then I just imported it into Maya, and then like sent the Maya file, whatever it was, and they gave me full points for that. So, but yeah, I'm not like a, you know, pro at 3D modeling. I am really only good at, whoopsies, let's see, at modeling kind of more like inanimate objects, like kind of firearms, mostly because I've done it so many times now. And the thing is, like, buildings, I can do that as well. But like, if you were to ask me, like, hey, let's model like a human, a human or an animal, like I have, yeah, I have somewhere here, the original model I had for the cavalry units in the game. Before I actually did use an asset for in the current version. But originally I was like, oh, I'm going to model a horse, and it is the ugliest abomination I have ever made. I was like, oh god, okay, I am not modeling a horse. That is terrible. So yeah. But again, with 3D modeling, you just got to find what you're good at, what your talents are, and just stick with that. So my talents are, again, with more like inanimate objects, so that's what I'm sticking with. Where the hell? I think this is supposed to go up a little bit. Soft body. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what that is. You talking about, like, is that like a type of modeling? A little confused what you mean by that. I know, like, what soft body is in like game engines, like where you have like soft body collisions and stuff, but not with okay, deform. Yeah, okay, that's kind of what I was thinking. So yeah, like I know what that is for like deformation in like game engines. I'm not entirely sure how that works in like Blender. Is there like a deform modifier? I mean, I know there is that simplify one. Oh yeah, there is. Okay. I will also say this. My version of Blender, this is version 2.8. It's old. I think this is from like 2019. So, so if there's like a feature that Blender has that I don't have, it's probably just because I'm using an older version. You know, I think you're right. I think it is called soft body. But again, I was under the impression you do that in like a game engine like Unity or something like that. I didn't think you had to do that in Blender. Because usually, like, you hear about like soft bodying for like, for instance, you'll have like a game like Beam and G, right, which is that like car racing game, um, where you got all these like realistic car crashes and stuff like that, and that has soft body collisions. Um, so that's kind of like, oh shoot, um, so they'll use it there, but again, maybe there is actually like again with the version of Blender I'm on, um, there are certain features I don't even have. I don't even think I have shape keys. No, I do have shape keys. Okay. Um, but I don't have like geometry nodes. Um, that's like a big feature that Blender now has. I don't have that. Uh, I you couldn't even expect me to try to learn that. I just that's like I see YouTube videos about people using those geometry nodes and all this like kind of like procedural like stuff, and I have no idea what the hell is going on. Um, so, but I'm kind of working on the process of trying to like update all my software. I mean, I just recently updated OBS because I was using like a version from like 2018. So I use GIMP for all my like texturing. So that's also, yeah, 4.3. Yeah, jeez. Yeah, uh I know they're right now at like alpha or beta stages for like version 5. Um, but again, I'm not on it, right? I'm not even close. So, but like yeah, I was using for a lot of my like texturing work, and also like just for like making YouTube thumbnails and stuff like that. I use GIMP instead of like Photoshop. I actually like using GIMP. You're not going to meet a lot of people that prefer GIMP over Photoshop, but I'm one of them. I had to use Photoshop in school, and that thing would crash on me every like 5 seconds. It was just the most unreliable piece of software I had to use. So I pretty much anything by Adobe I don't like using. Um, but even that, like I was using a version from like 2018, so I had to update it a couple weeks ago. Yeah, GIMP is easy to learn. It's honestly it's not that difficult. Um, GIMP, Inkscape for making like vector images. I heard there's I think it's called Krita, and that's more for like drawing. GIMP is kind of more, I would say, for like photo editing than it is for drawing. You can draw with GIMP, it's just not as good. Um, but again, there's plenty of free open source software out there to learn. Um, but I've always been a fan of Blender. I like the like let me show you what my favorite feature about Blender is that I use I already have been using it in this live stream, but this is my favorite feature that programs like Maya and most of the other 3D modelers modeling programs do not have. See this? I select a couple of vertices and I press F and I made a polygon. Surprise, surprise, that feature, what I just did right there, is not in Maya. In Maya, it's basically kind of like a sculpting program almost. You have to basically make a shape and then kind of form it and move stuff around. You can't actually just like make a polygon just out of nowhere. Yeah, it doesn't have that. Yeah, that's in my opinion, that's like a basic thing that every modeling program should have. It doesn't have that. I was even like googling it, and they're like, yeah, no, it doesn't have. It's like there is like a tool that kind of does the same thing, but it doesn't work anywhere near as well. It's like this like I think it's called like append to polygon, and it's you click like one or two vertices, and then it like tries to guess like what you're trying to fill, and it's almost always wrong. Yeah. Oh yeah. It messed up my workflow too. That's why again I cheated. It college. They were like, yeah, use Maya. It's professionally, industry style. I'm like, no, no. You telling me like I can't do this? I can't make a polygon like that. Just it takes a couple of seconds. Um, the worst example was, so one of the models I had to make um, in college was, I think it was like a rail yard, and it came down to making train tracks, and I had to make those little like I beams that make up the rails. And in Blender, it's really easy. You draw a square, you subdivide it a little bit, you make like the top and the bottom, and then on like the edges, like the faces, delete the faces, you kind of fill in the polygons, all that kind of stuff. That would take in Blender, like, I'm not even joking, like maybe a minute, maybe two. Easiest thing to model in the world, right? In Maya, I'm not even joking, it took 30 whole minutes. It was painful. And after that, I was like, I am never using this program. I do not care. That it sucks. So, again, and I know there are people out there that like Maya. That's what they're used to. But it's not for me. So I'm kind of glad that a lot of companies nowadays, they don't really require learning Maya now. Now you can get like a job in any one of these like game development or 3D modeling kind of required careers, and you don't actually need Maya anymore. It used to be like you needed to know Maya or one of these like CAD programs. You don't need it anymore. So no, I don't do. I don't let have n-gons in my model. What I actually, so sometimes what happens, I do sometimes make a lot of mistakes when I'm doing modeling, and I'll have an n-gon appear. There is a button here somewhere. Let's see, is it a mesh? Yeah, clean up, and then it's merge by distance. And this basically makes it so that if you have any n-gons, you have any vertices that are really close to each other, you click on that, and it basically subdivides the stuff, or it adds some extra polygons. And that way, like, if I do make a mistake, I won't have to worry about it. Because actually Unity doesn't handle n-gons. If you actually have a polygon with more than one face, Unity will just straight up, like, sometimes it will handle it, but most of the time it'll actually just delete that polygon, and so you'll have holes in your models. You'll just have like random holes, and that's really annoying. Like, after the whole like normal stuff, having your model just have a bunch of just holes everywhere is just, that's like, oh, that's really painful. Because yeah, and without that tool, you would have to basically search and find which polygon is messed up, which that's just that's a real pain. So yeah, no, I make sure that when I import my models into Unity, they are as good as they can be. There is no weird stuff going on. Yeah, surprise, surprise, I'm actually not too upset with how this is so far looking. Like, sometimes it feels like I'm not modeling much, but honestly, I actually kind of thought I was going to be stuck on making this the whole day, but actually it's going well. Yeah. Yeah. Unity has a lot of interesting things with how it renders objects. Like, again, I may have already mentioned it before. Yeah. Charging. Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, again, with these kinds of like more intricate models, like 2 hours to make a charging handle actually doesn't sound like that bad. Like, again, if you think about it, I've been modeling, and that we've been now going for how long? Just a little under an hour. All I've done is just this little like groove, right? Like, this is like really simple, and it's taken this long. Um, and I know there's probably, again, going to be those like, professional, the people that'll model one of these things in like, 20 minutes. But again, for me, I like kind of taking my time. I'm not the speedy type. And again, all these people, their whole workflow is just so much more different than mine. Mine's kind of rudimentary. But I was gonna say with Unity, and I think I've already mentioned it before, but like I used to think that the like biggest like performance saving thing you could do with Unity was making all these like different LOD models. Um, and so like I remember like the first iteration of this trapdoor was only uh 10,000 triangles, 10,000 polygons. Um, and I was like, oh, that's pretty optimized. It wasn't. Turns out the thing that really kills every single model is how many materials you have. So in just this metal piece, I already have 3 materials, and I think like the gun base has another 3, the trigger has 1, the trapdoor has like 2. This, I know the sights, wherever that is somewhere, that has like another like 3 as well. So that actually adds a lot to performance. And so now that I kind of know that, and I know how to actually like merge materials together, um, I'm now much more comfortable with just like making a much heavier model. Like, this is, I'm not even rendering everything, and this is already 31,000. Um, and it's probably going to be probably closer to 50 when it's done. Yeah. So again, don't worry about standards. This is something you pick up and you learn. My first couple of models I used to make, I'm not going to show them now because I'm kind of in the swing of things right now. But the first couple of models I ever made were these the models for like a racing game I was trying to make, and um, oh, 5K, yeah. Well, again, like, hey, if it's low poly, that's fine, or even mid poly, that's fine. But yeah, the first model I made was a couple of vehicle models, which is a terrible place to start, by the way, because vehicles are really detailed. Um, but yeah, I tried modeling that, and like, oh my god, it like, they don't look terrible, but they is definitely it definitely doesn't look that great. Like the tail lights, they're just basically like textures on like a single like square. The wheels look they look really chunky. They look like they came straight out of Roblox. And like, I wasn't trying to make like a stylized game at all. Like, it was supposed to be like a semi-realistic looking game, and it just looked terrible. Um, it looked like one of those like early like 2003, not 2003, PS3 like era like video games. It just looked terrible. Um, so, but then 5 years later, here we are. I'm making these, right? Even in the last 2 years, I feel like my modeling skills have improved a lot. So it's the more you do it, the more you kind of get more comfortable with it, and it stops becoming, you know, terrifying. Because that's the thing I think I've noticed with a lot of people. I see a lot of people, they start Blender, they get a decent amount in learning it, and then they're kind of like, man, this is like really scary, right? And then they kind of give up. The point is to not give up, just kind of stick with it. And yeah, I think I'm finally ready to just get rid of all of this. Bye. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, even 10,000. That's not that bad. Again, the original model for this trapdoor was 10K. It's actually a little bit under. I think it was like 9,000, like 800. But then again, that was because I wanted. I at the time I thought that the best performance, way to say performance was having a lower poly count, and it turns out nope, that's not at all. That is a myth. Okay, I'm kind of now done with that. So this now needs to kind of go be like a slant, kind of. So yeah, yeah. Texturing is a great way to mask a low polygon count. But again, you might prefer a low polygon count. Another one of the inspirations for this game is Ravenfield, and that game nails the low poly aesthetic. Looks great. So, not every game has to have a high poly count or even a high texture quality. Yeah, geometry is definitely cheap nowadays. I mean, I actually did this was a really funny story. I did a stress test for Blender. This was way back in, I think it was like 2018. I had a really crappy Windows. That was a Windows 8. It was actually Windows 10 laptop, but it was a Windows 10 laptop from like 2015, like pretty much when Windows 10 just came out. Really garbage laptop. It was like a Dell Core i3 integrated graphics card, like really crap, right? But I had Blender installed on it, and I wanted to see like what kind of model I could make. So I downloaded a height map of the entirety of Southern California, like LA all the way down to the border. And I imported that into Blender, and I think it was like what was it, like 10 million triangles, and it ran yeah, granted slow as hell, but it ran. I was like, oh my god, okay, yeah. So even with an absolute garbage PC like that laptop was, yeah, you can render some crazy detailed models. So yeah. Also, I think this might be a little too much, but yeah. Honestly, the biggest thing to improve on performance is how many materials. It's why I get kind of annoyed. I know I'm kind of ranting a little bit, but Unreal Engine. There's been a lot of talk about how Unreal Engine has been kind of unoptimized. A lot of games that are being made with it are just really slow and unoptimized. I had to use Unreal Engine for college, so I do have experience with UE5, and the biggest thing I can tell you is that there's a huge misunderstanding with how to improve performance, because everybody says, oh, it's just LODs. I just hit nanite, you just add that and my game is going to run like $1 million. No. it all comes down to, again, how many materials you have and basically the draw calls, which is kind of how your CPU tells the GPU like what materials to render at a certain time. And it's funny because I remember explaining that to, like, again, like computer scientists that I was like working with. These are people, like, they're not stupid, like they know what they're doing. And when I was telling them that, they were looking at me like as if I was like speaking like alien language to them. They were like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, that's how you're supposed to save on performance. Again, that it just shows to me like how most of the industry has just been gaslit into thinking like, yeah, all I need is just a lower poly model, and my game's gonna run beautifully, right? And it's like, no, that's not at all. And nanites or all that kind of like stuff that you see like Unreal Engine have, that is not gonna save you on performance at all. That is just doesn't do anything. So it's kind of funny to see, most of the industry kind of, because again, I'm seeing like a lot of games like Borderlands and stuff like that. They're like, oh, it runs terribly on Unreal. It's like, it's not really Unreal. It's more the devs not knowing how to actually use Unreal correctly. And then Unreal not promoting how to actually optimize their stuff correctly either. So, yeah. Funnily enough, I didn't make the grass. So all the nature assets in the game are now using assets from a Unity demo that's actually pretty old now. It's like from 2018, I think, as well. It's called Book of the Dead. It was like a high definition demo that Unity had. Let me see if I'm messing this up. I think I am, actually. So yeah, it was kind of like a demo to kind of show like, hey, here's how good the visuals in Unity can look like from like 2018. And I kind of repurposed the assets. I had to do a lot of work still on them because they weren't optimized either. So I had to actually go in and kind of touch up the like the way the materials are kind of baked in, to just make it just kind of a little bit more optimized. But yeah, for the most part, I didn't do the modeling or texturing for that. I used to have my own like 3D models for like, trees and rocks and stuff like that, but they just looked so terrible. I was like, for that kind of stuff, I'm okay with using assets. But again, when it comes to like guns, and that kind of stuff, yeah, I actually do model, just because that kind of is what sets apart my game from everything else. But when it comes to like grass, it's like, yeah, I'm not, that's every game has grass, It's like I don't need to reinvent the wheel and try to outdo myself in making, photorealistic looking grass. I'll just use an asset. And actually, I will say there's going to be a few assets I'm probably going to be reusing. One of the reasons why, like, games made in like UE5 look so good is they actually have access to a lot of professional like photogrammetry assets. And for a while, it was actually kind of locked away only to people that used Unreal Engine. But now they've made some of those assets for free. So I actually do have access to some assets. Again, these aren't like mostly environmental stuff. So all like the guns and stuff like that, I'm still making, right? But for things like rocks, whoopsies. For things like rocks, for things like what else? Yeah, fence posts. So fence posts, sandbags. Like, again, I don't need to model all of that kind of stuff. So there's like photo scanned assets that they have that look amazing. And actually, a lot of them are actually pretty. I've checked the models like themselves, like in Blender. I've imported them into Blender, and actually a lot of them are actually pretty well optimized. So, plan is to kind of with the next like you know, release of the game to kind of replace some of the old environment assets and kind of use those ones instead. So, yeah. Okay. I think, yeah, there's like a, I don't know if I'm gonna actually even be able to finish this thing, but I'm gonna at least kind of start it. There is a little, I'm just gonna call it kind of like a clipping thing right here at the bottom, and that's actually what's, I'm guessing, keeping the trapdoor mechanism like locked to the bottom right here. And that's, I think, right there. Yeah. Okay. Let me look at the reference images. So yeah, it's kind of, hold on a second. Yeah. Honestly, yeah, I think this is, like, compared to last week, when I spent like 2 hours working on just this. Honestly, I'm actually kind of impressed how much I've done in just a little over an hour and 10 minutes. I'm actually, yeah, kind of happy with myself on that. Yeah, good luck, dude. Good luck, yeah. Likewise. Have fun with game jamming stuff. I'm probably gonna end the stream here anyway, so after I'm done with this. Bye. So, anyway, okay. And then we want, Yeah, they'll. So what I'm working on right now, this actually isn't even on the low poly model that I have on Sketchfab, the reference I'm using. So that's fun. Okay, just one more and whoopsies. There we go. And then I'm going to do a shortcut rather than trying to connect all of these, which is going to take a million years. What I'm going to instead do is just get it close enough. Oh, it's really crap. It doesn't actually show it to me. I'm just going to get really close enough that you can't actually see that there's a gap. So like we can see, it's like that. Because realistically, you're never going to see the bottom of this too much. So and a little bit more. And oh shoot, hang on a second, I completely forgot I have this side as well. Okay, and there we go. Nothing is kind of peeking through, and we have our little thing. This should be way lower though. Like that. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Oh, that looks great. that looks really good. Okay. Let me see. Can I do studio mode? Hold on a second. Oh. Okay, well that's weird. Wow. All right, well, oh, jeez. Studio mode's working, not working as intended. All right. Anyway, so yeah, what I was trying to do is add this little thingy right here. You can see it kind of, yeah. So that's kind of the part that actually locks in with this this trapdoor mechanism. And for the most part,
think I kind of got it. Honestly, yeah, I think I oopsies. I think I kind of nailed it. So honestly, now it's just a case of finishing this part, which does have this little square cutout for this. And then adding this little metal piece back here. And then, of course, I have to work in the plate, this metal plate, which is kind of on the side right here. But then after that, it's done, yeah. Even this reference I'm using doesn't even have that, or the little cutout here. Honestly, if you take a look, I think mine looks, for the most part, a little bit better. It's definitely got a lot more detail going on. So, yeah, it's looking good. Like, I'm confident I could probably actually get a good chunk of this done probably tomorrow. So, but I think that's where we're probably going to have to end it. It's been a little, what was it like? I just realized oh, jeez. Oh, I'm still on studio mode. Jeez. Is it working now? Okay, there we go. Goodness gracious. I have to learn a little bit more about OBS with the hotkeys and stuff. Thankfully, I don't think I showed off anything too personal. But yeah, we've been live streaming now, I think, for about what, an hour and 50 minutes. Jeez. Okay. Yeah. I don't think that's right, but whatever. So, yeah, I think we're probably going to have to end it here. So, next week, again, we're going to be experimenting with infantry modeling, trying out some new software like DAZ 3D and Marvelous Designer, and seeing if we can make some human models and some clothing options, not clothing options, uniforms for our infantry, seeing how well that looks. And yeah, well, that'll be a more fun experimental stream. And also next week I want to try to stream both here on YouTube and Twitch possibly, and also we'll see if I can get maybe even TikTok live streaming set up. So yeah, we'll be in a bunch of places. So yeah, thanks to everybody that I guess joined in, watched it live. Thanks for all the comments. So yeah, see you all next time.